Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Algorithm Mind. My name is Asan Khurram and in this channel I teach programming skills in Python, MATLAB and R programming. And I also teach theoretical concepts as well as practical programming skills in topics such as data analysis, statistical analysis and data science. So for those of you who just want to learn Python programming or who want to excel their career or start their career in data science, I suggest you to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell icon so you will be able to receive the notification of my new upcoming videos related to statistical analysis as soon as possible. So in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the fundamentals of Python programming, which is actually the introduction to object-oriented programming in Python. So object-oriented programming is a powerful paradigm that allows us to model real-world entities and as objects. These objects encapsulates both the data, which we call attributes, behavior, which we call methods. So let me break down these key concepts for you. So what do we mean by object-oriented programming in Python? So for the very first thing we will discuss is actually a class. So a class serves as a blueprint for creating object. It's like a template which we can use and then create an object or multiple objects with that blueprint. So a class serves as like a blueprint. It defines the common properties which we say is data or attributes, methods which we can say as a function shared by all instances of the class. Think of it as a template. I will discuss that more when we come to the programming part here, so don't be overwhelmed by it, but try to have a brief definition of what is actually a class in Python or when we are dealing with object oriented programming. Then we have a object. An object is an instance of a class. So actually an object comes from a class. It represents a specific entity with its own state, data and behavior, method or functions. For example, a car class could have an object representing different car models. Then we have an idea or concept about data abstraction. So abstraction hides the implementation details and exposes only essential information. Imagine that you are driving a car, you know how to accelerate or brake without understanding the internal mechanism. That's abstraction. So because you are only interested in controlling the car and not how the mechanism works or how the mechanism of brake is working, how the mechanism of acceleration is working. Then we have another concept here which is called encapsulation. Encapsulation bundles data, attributes, methods or functions together within a class. So ensures that the data remains private and can only be accessed through well-defined methods. Then finally, which is our core concept we are going to discuss here is actually inheritance. Inheritance allows one class, the child class, to inherit properties and method from another class, which is called the parent class. I will discuss that in more detail when we come to the code section. So it promotes code reuse and hierarchy. So without further ado, let's me jump straight into programming part. So this is a block of code here where we actually have defined a class. So this is how you actually define a class. You will use this Python statement class and then you will name the class. In our case, the name of our class is animal, but it can be anything. For example, if you are dealing with cars, you can rename your class as car. So for right now, for the purpose of our learning, I have created a class named animal. And I have also passed some arguments or comments so you can understand what it actually represents. So this class represents an animal. So again, as we go back a little bit earlier, I have told you that classes actually represents real life, try to model real world entities. So for this purpose, we have actually created a class named animal for in order to understand what is actually meant by class in object oriented programming in Python. So I have created a class animal. Then within that class, I have defined init method. I have used init method, which is actually a specialized method in Python programming specifically for object oriented programming. And it is also called constructor method, and it is used to initialize the attributes of the instance of class. So what do we actually mean by attributes here? So to get an idea or to actually remember the concept, then think of attributes as data. Okay, so and this data is specifically related to an object. So try to conceptualize this, visualize this idea. A class is something like a main body, and from that class you have actually created an object or a smaller body, and that smaller body is composed of data, and it's composed of functions. So like it has some data that and it has some functions. So data we mean attributes, and for by functions we mean methods. So in order to create an object from a class, we have this init method which is automatically automatically initialize those data variables, or there is like construction methods. So they are automatically initialized for that specific object. So whenever you actually create an object from this class animal, these instances will be automatically initialized, so that we can actually use it for our methods and so on. And you see this prefix self here, which denotes that they are the instances of the object that is being created, or instances of the class. Okay, we either say instances of the class or we say that object here. So it has two values, name and species. So for example, if we are creating an animal class, so you can take the context like the name of the animal and what is the species of an animal. For example, if it's a dog, what's the name of the dog? Let's say Chesler is the name of the dog. And what's the species? The species is actually dog. And you can say do the same for cat. The species will be cat and the name will be anything like Tom. Then as we have now, we actually know how to actually use init method or constructor method that actually initializes the attributes for that object, specific object that we are creating through the class. Remember, class is a blueprint. With that blueprint, you can actually create some quantity, and that quantity is called object. And when the object is being created, this init method or constructor method actually creates the attributes for that object, okay, or instance of that class. Now we have this instance method, which is actually a function, okay, and that performs some specific function method that performs specific method that is being called. So as you know that a class has attributes, data, and it has methods as functions. Like the blueprint, from that blueprint we are also taking attributes and we are also taking functions out of it. And in that case we have an instance method which is defined, and the name of that method is make sound. And this is an instant method to make the animal sound, but right now I'm using the statement pass. That means that it doesn't contain right now anything that to be implemented by this class. But when we actually are creating the subclass, then this method can be overwritten by the subclass, and a new method can be defined in the specific class. So you will get to know about this concept when we talk about inheritance. So this was the basic concept here, that we have a class that is actually a blueprint, and with using that class you can actually create an object, and that object is actually created by initializing those instances of class or object, and those attributes which are in our case name and species. Then we have also instance method, which are the functions that we actually inherit when we are actually creating some subclass from the main class that we inherit from that functions or methods. Now let's move on to actually talk about inheritance. What is actually inheritance? So if you recall and look at the definition, Inheritance allows one class, the child class, to inherit properties and method from another class, the parent class. So by inheritance, we are able to take properties, we are able to take attributes and methods of the parent class and assign it to the child class. Okay, and we are also able to perform some other functionalities, such as updating some functions or methods in the while taking that were actually defined in parent class, but we are now updating in the child class to different aspect or functionality, and you will see that. Now, in order to create a subclass from a parent class, we are going to use this Python statement here, class, and then we are going to name the subclass dog, and we are passing input argument. We are passing this input argument animal, which is again a class. Okay, so in order to create a subclass, we will use this Python statement here. We will write class, then we will write the name of subclass that we actually want to name it. In our case, we want to name it as dog, and within the curly braces, we are going to pass the parent or the main class that will, from where this dog will inherit properties, inherit attributes and method. So in our case, that is defined as animal. So once you have done that, now I have written some comment that this class represents a dog inherited from the animal class. Now this subclass also initiates its own init method or constructor method, and it's overwriting the init method that was actually defined in the animal class. And we are with using this Python statement super braces dot init name comma species, we are actually inheriting the same attributes that were actually present in the super class or parent class here, and we are actually taking those attributes from that parent class. But we are also doing another operation here. We are specifically defining the species is equal to dog. So instead of leaving it as it, but we are actually defining species is equal to dog. And so this is an additional input argument, an additional operation we are actually performing in this Python statement. So just to recall that this Python statement is actually used to inherit attributes from the superclass, but it also are using defining species equal to dog, because we have stated that our subclass is actually a dog. And after that, we are actually adding an additional attribute to our constructor method, that is self.breed is equal to breed. So basically, now whenever we create object from this class, then we have one more additional attribute that is called breed. And now, as I recall that in the previous super class, or let's say the parent class, I discussed about instant method, where I told you that currently it's there's nothing much defined here, but we leave it to the subclass. So whatever functionality that has been defined for make sound in the inherent class, it will be superimposed on this instant method in the super class. So right now, after inheriting properties like attributes from the superclass animal, now we are overwriting and we are defining our own instance method by using this statement def make sound self, and now we are returning wolf, woof. So it's like kind of a dog makes sound, so it's like a woof. So you understand that it's a dog sound. So, but the idea here to understand that we are actually overriding the instant method that was actually defined in the parent class. Okay, so this is the main idea that you need to grab. And the same way, now I'm going to give you another example. Now we are going to create another subclass, so you will have a better understanding of the concept here, what I'm trying to convey for the concept of inheritance. Just like we have created a class dog from the main class animal. In the same way, we can actually create a class, another subclass named cat from the main class animal. So we are going to use the same notation in this Python statement: class, name of the subclass cat, and within those curly braces I'm passing the main class or parent class animal. And then I'm going to override the constructor method, and I'm going to inherit name and species from the super parent class, but I'm also assigning species is equal to cat. And finally, I'm also passing an additional attribute, the self.color, which defines the color of the cat. And just like earlier we have discussed that we are overriding this make sound instance method, in the same way we are overriding the same method in the superclass by this method here, which returns a meow, because our class subclass is now a mew cat, so it makes a sound like of meow. So that's the idea behind like inheritance. So just to revise and give you a concept, just to revise the concept, so we have a class that has actually attributes and methods. Attributes we can define as data, and methods you can be defined as function. And using that class we can actually create subclass or with specific features. For example, animal was main class. We are able to create subclass as cats and dogs using that subclass. And we were also able to override some of the attributes and instance methods of the main class when we actually define the subclass in inheritance. Now let's move on to actually creating an object. Okay, remember that an object is actually the instance of the class. So it's like an object is actually a main entity, where class is actually like a template or blueprint. So right now here in this section of the code, we are actually creating the objects, okay, or instance of the classes of cat and dog. So you see here we are declaring a variable named dog with if you see that it's case sensitive, so dog is different than the class dog capital with capital uppercase letter D. So dog is equal to, we are actually calling the subclass dog, and we are passing is the name. The name of the dog is Buddy, and we are also passing its breed, which is actually golden retriever. Then we also calling the subclass cat, and we are passing its name Whiskers, and we are also passing its color gray. And once you have actually created the instance of class, now you can actually assess the attributes and methods from that object. Okay, so how you can this is like, okay, this is the way actually this is where we actually create objects from classes. Okay, or we either call it object or instance of classes. So this is how you actually create an object. Now we are going to use a simple print function, and within the print function we are going to use fstring method. So fstring method actually allows us to encapsulate or embed variable names or in the string. So it allows us to perform the calculation or printing or whatever, the create a string dynamically. So we don't have to actually do the complex formatting by ourselves. So we have declared an fstring method here, and then we have defined dog.name, which is again the name of the dog that has been defined within those curly braces, so it might get embedded in the string. Then is a dog.species. So what is the species of the dog? Again, it's a dog. We have defined earlier, if you recall here, we have species is equal to dog. Then of breed, dog.breed. So what is the breed? Actually a golden retriever. In the same way, we have defined another print function, and within that print function we are using fstring method. We are then assessing the attribute cat name, and then the attribute cat species and cat color. Okay, so when we run that, you see that for dog we have Buddy is a dog of breed golden retriever, whisker is a cat with gray fur. Okay, so this is it. Now this is how we actually assess the attributes, or we call it as data. Now what if you actually want to assess instance methods or say functions? So we can use the same notation here, but for okay, I will tell you like that we have declared print function, and then we have used string method. We have assessed attribute, that is dog.name says. Then in order to assess the method, remember a method is much of functions like a function. So in order to assess that, you're going to use its name, and then we are going to use square braces, curly braces. So that's how you actually are going to assess the method from that class or object. Okay, so it's an instance of class or an object. So you do it for for dog, and you do it for cat. Then you will have like dog buddy says woof. So if you recall that where is woof, here it's the instance method, that is actually defined in the subclass. And the whisker, which is actually a cat, says meow. Where it is meow defined? It is defined in the subclass instance method. So this was actually a quite brief explanation of object-oriented programming in Python. If you have any questions related to today's tutorial, feel free to comment in the feel free to write your queries or questions in the comment section. I will be happy to help you out. And I would like to remind you that for those of you who actually want to excel their career in data science, or want to start their career in data science, want to learn Python programming, want to learn data analysis, statistical analysis, so I request you to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell icon, because soon I will be posting videos related to statistical analysis, which is again a core and fundamental aspect for any data science professional. Thank you for joining me for this tutorial, and I will catch you soon in the next video.